Rebecca Fox had been away from home for the weekend, visiting her family in a nearby city. After returning earlier than expected, she decided to play a harmless prank on her fiancé, who was busy in their bedroom. She walked on tiptoes toward the room, laughing to herself with excitement, and sat quickly under the bed to hide. She waited patiently for her fiancé to enter the room so she could jump out and surprise him. However, as she lay there, she froze in terror when she heard the sound of footsteps approaching. It was more than just her fiancé. With her heart beating hard, she tried to stay calm and still, hoping that it was only her fiancé and whoever else was present in the room wouldn't notice her under the bed. Suddenly, she heard her fiancé's voice, but his voice was accompanied by another voice she had heard before. Her mind was racing with fear and confusion as she realized someone else was in the room with her. She tensed up, with eyes wide open from shock, and tried to control her breathing while preparing for the worst. It was at this point that Rebecca realized that her prank had taken an unexpected and unpleasant turn. Rebecca remained motionless under the bed, trying to calm her breathing. She could hear a pair of footsteps approaching, and her heart was beating hard from fear. As the footsteps approached, she could hear the clear sound of high heels clicking on the wooden floor. The sound was very familiar, and Rebecca's mind was churning through the possibilities of who it could be. Just when she was about to give up to panic, the two people spoke, and Rebecca recognized the voice immediately. It was someone she never expected to see again, and her mind was filled with a million questions as she tried to process what was happening. But before we start, press the like button and make sure to subscribe if you haven't done so already, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any new stories. Rebecca Fox, a vibrant young woman, lived a seemingly perfect life with a fulfilled career, a loving family, and a bright future ahead of her. She had everything she had ever wanted. Her world was turned upside down when she met Andrew, the man of her dreams. Unlike the athletes and macho men she had dated in the past, Andrew was different. He had a nerdy side and a deep love for his family, which made him even more attractive to Rebecca. She felt that she had finally found her soulmate and was excited to spend the rest of her life with him. However, fate had other plans for her, and one day something happened that would shake her world to its core. Andrew and Rebecca met for the first time at a summer camp where both were working as counselors. From the moment they saw each other, they felt an instant connection. They spent their days bonding through their shared love for music, movies, and adventure, and their evenings talking for hours under the stars. As their friendship deepened, Andrew and Rebecca began to realize that they had developed feelings for each other. They began to spend more and more time together, taking long walks, exploring new places, and trying new things. Soon, they became inseparable, holding hands and sneaking into each other's houses to spend time together. Their teenage love never wavered, and when they finished high school and went to college, they were just as committed to each other as ever. They made sure to call each other every day and visit each other as often as they could. They supported each other through the ups and downs of college life and encouraged each other as they pursued their dreams. Fast-forwarding a few years, Andrew finally gathered the courage to ask Rebecca to marry him. He planned a romantic dinner at their favorite restaurant and surprised her with a beautiful diamond ring. Rebecca was on cloud 9 with happiness and shouted yes with all the strength of her lungs. They hugged tightly, knowing they were meant to be together forever. Rebecca was madly in love with Andrew, and this came mainly from his strong sense of family values. For Andrew, family was always first, and he had a deeply rooted connection with his parents. In fact, his mother Anna was an active participant in their lives, often organizing Sunday lunches where the whole family could gather and talk. These lunches, filled with laughter, stories, and delicious home-cooked food, were the highlight of the week. However, one such Sunday lunch brought with it the first sign of trouble. During this seemingly perfect family gathering, the family dynamic began to show cracks. Andrew's father, who was usually the life of the party, seemed withdrawn and uninterested in the conversation. Anna, who normally had it all under control, seemed tense, shouting at everyone and seeming unusually overwhelmed. Everyone was gathered around the table enjoying a delicious meal. Andrew and Rebecca were sitting opposite Anna and Andrew's father, Trent. As they ate and talked, Rebecca couldn't help but notice something that made her feel uncomfortable. However, the discomfort continued. Rebecca had never seen a dynamic like theirs before, and this made her unsure. Anna often interjected into private conversations between Andrew and Rebecca, offering opinions that were neither asked for nor welcome. Andrew never stopped her. On the contrary, he seemed to encourage it, valuing her presence and contribution. Their closeness went beyond what Rebecca felt was normal. They shared jokes that only they knew, laughed easily together, and seemed deeply in sync with each other. Rebecca began to pay closer attention. Anna found excuses to touch Andrew whenever she could, her hand resting on his arm or shoulder. The gestures felt intimate, and although Andrew didn't openly flirt, he never pulled away. When Anna touched him, he often returned the gesture, creating a disturbing interaction. Rebecca tried to convince herself that she was imagining things. Paranoia crept in slowly, fueled by every look and every pause. Their family dinners had once been comforting, but they had changed. The atmosphere felt tense, loaded with something unspoken. Press the like button and make sure to subscribe if you haven't done so already to support our stories. Then, one evening, everything changed. As they sat together at the table, Rebecca noticed Anna and Andrew exchanging a look that tightened her stomach. Their hands intertwined briefly in a way that felt disturbingly intimate. Turning to Rebecca, they announced that they had planned something special, a hiking trip to the mountain. At first, Rebecca felt relief. A hike seemed harmless. However, the questions remained. Why hadn't Andrew mentioned it before? Why had it been kept secret? When the day came, her optimism felt fragile. They set off early on a cool morning, venturing deep into the woods. Rebecca forced a smile, but the deeper they went, the more her nerves tightened. The trail was steeper and rougher than she expected. For a while, the hike progressed without problems. All four, Rebecca, Andrew, Anna, and Trent, moved together through the woods. The silence was broken only by footsteps and the singing of birds. As they climbed higher, the terrain got harder. Trent began to have difficulty. His breathing was heavy, his pace slowed. Rebecca noticed it immediately and looked ahead, but Andrew and Anna were far ahead, engrossed in their conversation, seemingly without noticing anything. Rebecca hesitated, then slowed down to stay with Trent. She couldn't leave him behind. Not like this. As they continued the trail, Rebecca tried to make small talk, hoping to take Trent's attention away from his difficulty and perhaps soften the tension she felt. But the conversation changed when Trent, sounding tired and reflective, apologized and mentioned that Andrew and Anna had always shared a special bond. He explained that since he had married Anna, she had acted more like a real mother than a stepmother, and that they had gone through a lot together. His words troubled Rebecca. There was something heavy in his tone, as if he had said more than he intended. Questions flooded her mind. When they reached the top, Anna and Andrew were already there, laughing and standing close to each other. They showed no concern for the fact that they had left Trent behind. Their ease with each other felt excessive, their closeness too intimate to be ignored. By the end of the hike, her discomfort turned into something colder. She was sure now that Andrew and Anna were hiding something capable of changing everything. In the weeks that followed, Rebecca became increasingly distant from Andrew. Conversations became forced, and every interaction between Andrew and Anna bothered her. The suspicion remained constantly there, refusing to fade no matter how much she tried to ignore it. Eventually, unable to live with the uncertainty, Rebecca confronted Andrew. She told him that she felt something was wrong between him and Anna. His reaction was immediate and defensive. He insisted that there was nothing inappropriate and accused Rebecca of jealousy and overreacting. Afterwards, trust was difficult to rebuild. Over time, Andrew made an effort to calm her, and their relationship slowly stabilized. However, the tension remained beneath the surface.
Then, one weekend, Rebecca was suddenly called for work. Her boss requested that she travel to present a new product to a potential client. The sudden trip overwhelmed her, but Andrew encouraged her to go and focus on her career. She spent the time packing her suitcases and ensuring everything was in order before leaving for the airport to catch the business-class flight to London to showcase her company's latest product. However, without her knowing, something ominous was happening at home, a trick that could overturn her world. Shortly after arriving in London, Andrew called her to encourage her and assure her that everything would go well. His enthusiasm comforted her, but it also seemed unusual. She wondered why he seemed so eager for her to be away that weekend. The reason became clearer when her boss suddenly informed her that the presentation had been moved earlier. Now she would have to present on Saturday instead of Sunday. The sudden change left her rushed and stressed, but she forced herself to focus, knowing how important the opportunity was. On Saturday, Rebecca performed the presentation without any errors. Her confidence and preparation impressed the clients, and she felt relieved when she finished. Eager to return home, she booked an earlier flight, forgetting a crucial detail. She hadn't told Andrew that she would be returning a day earlier. When she arrived home, the house was empty. Disappointed but determined to turn it into a surprise, Rebecca decided to wait for Andrew. She heard his car pull into the yard and rushed to the bedroom, hiding under the bed to scare him as a prank, without knowing that he was not alone. Moments later, footsteps entered the room, 2 pairs. Rebecca froze, her heart beating hard as fear replaced excitement. A voice sounded familiar, but she couldn't identify it immediately. The situation felt wrong, and her previous prank now seemed like a terrible mistake. As the conversation continued, Rebecca realized that the second voice belonged to a woman. Her thoughts raced. Terror tightened her chest. She waited hopelessly as Andrew's jacket fell to the floor next to her face, convincing her that she had discovered something devastating. Just when she was about to appear, she heard Andrew speaking. He addressed Anna, sounding irritated. Anna insisted that Rebecca was not the right one for him, claiming that she had raised him as her own son and did not approve of the marriage. Andrew dismissed her interference firmly, defending his wife and telling Anna to leave. He made it clear that Rebecca was his priority and that the house had to be ready for her return. Rebecca came bursting out from under the bed with tears running down her face. "How could you?" she said, her voice shaking. Anna jumped back, not expecting to see her. Andrew was equally surprised, but he had redeemed himself by standing against her words. They asked her to leave the property. After that day, the couple didn't go to family dinners anymore. They knew they only needed each other. Do you think Andrew did the right thing by completely disconnecting from the family, or was there another way to solve this situation? Tell us your opinion below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more incredible stories. Thank you for following us.